right, guys, welcome to the Men's Alliance podcast. We got Ducky with us today. Ducky, welcome, brother.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited.
And this is I understand that your actual your given name is not Ducky.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
you do go by Paul sometimes.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about where you're at geographically and what tribe you're in.
Yeah. So I am here in Central Arkansas. So if anybody's familiar with Arkansas, Little Rock is pretty centralized, and I'm about 45 minutes northeast of there, in Lono County, and we are with Tribe Judah, which was I started last November after going to Men's Ignite down in Dallas, Texas.
Oh man. So Judah tribe's been going for 13 months, right?
Yep.
And you first heard about Men's Alliance when we set up at Ignite Dallas. Man, it's crazy that was only last year. So
Yeah.
that was October 24 that we were there, and I love the stories of how God spreads the fire and brings this ministry from one location to the next. So I want to start off by just hearing your story about. Tell us your background, growing up to coming to Christ. Walk us through that, brother.
Yeah. So I grew up in Michigan, Metro Detroit area. So I grew up in Warren, Michigan, mostly, which is right outside of Detroit. And growing up, as far as going to church and everything, I think I've gone at that in my childhood maybe 10 times. My stepfather, his brother, was pretty heavy into the Lutheran church. So we would go to a Lutheran church, was baptized Lutheran. Obviously had no idea what was going on. It was just, getting sprinkled
Just
and
went
whatnot.
because your parents took you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So which, like I feel like that's most people's experience growing up. Like they went because your parents made you. I only remember a few times going to like a Wednesday night, youth thing. But literally it had to have been less than 20 times my entire childhood. Just to back up, my dad and my mom got divorced when I was really young. I don't really remember. And my dad actually moved down here to Arkansas. My mom remarried, and then unfortunately there was another divorce right when I was going into high school, so I had no father figure around. So I pretty much did whatever I wanted to, which ultimately that that lifestyle I was going down was either going to end up in jail or dead, and I had my entire childhood been or had the idea of I wanted to be a cop and I wanted to be in the Army. So I had talked to a recruiter before I graduated. Took the ASVAB and all that, and then just my worldly desires got in the way of going that way. And then I had a really bad night one night, and I called down to my dad and my stepmom. I was like, "Hey, I got to get out of here, or else something. It's not going to be good. Not going to be good." So I moved down here after I graduated high school, and then I ended up joining the Army within a year of that. No faith at that point. Pretty much, again, I went to church growing up, but I don't remember anything about it. like standing up, sitting down, maybe a little bit of music, but nothing there. So the Army, I ended up in the 101st. So that was 2009 when I got there, and heavy rotations in and out of Afghanistan. So we were slotted to go in 2010. So we were just, as soon as pretty much got there, we were just training for that, deployed, and still no faith.
Tell people real quick, what's the 101st and where were you stationed?
Yeah, so the 101st Airborne. If you've ever seen Band of Brothers, I don't think it's in the camera view here, but if you ever seen Band of Brothers with
Oh man,
Kurhi,
nice.
that was the unit I was a part of. So the 506. So that's there in Fort Campbell, which is in Kentucky. It's only in Kentucky because the post office is actually on the Kentucky side. Most of the camp is actually on the Tennessee side. Just a
Okay.
little tidbit there. So
I
yeah,
didn't know that. Yeah, I just
yeah,
always think Kentucky. Yeah.
yeah. Because I was an MP. So let me back up. I was an MP. So like the first like 8 days I was there, I was working the road, which is absolutely insane that you give an 18-year-old a gun to police grown men that are trained for war. Yeah. I was thinking about it that not too long ago, and it's like that's absolutely absurd. But yeah. So we deployed from there, and leading up to that point, I always felt like I had like a guardian angel, and I'd been told that. But like because I'd get in situations where other people would get in trouble, or other people would get hurt, or whatever, and I always kind of went, got off scot free. My stepmom always used to say like, you be covered in poop and smell like roses, come out smelling like roses. So yeah, Afghanistan, couple situations where I felt that, like, I don't know why I made it through or why, I had buddies that got hurt or whatever. And, just made it through again, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't like a God thing. I wouldn't say I was atheist, probably agnostic. Like, yeah, there's something there, but I don't know what it is. And,
Yeah.
you were in the military, and even though there's no atheists in a foxhole leading up to it, like, you just, when you see those things, it's hard to think that, like we talk
Yeah.
about that, why would God allow these types of evils?
Yeah. How could there be a God with this thing in front of me happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, got back from that, PCS to Fort Lee, which is still so funny to me, that a lot of us have that same duty station.
Yeah.
It's such a random place for most.
What years were you at Fort Lee?
So I got there like December of 12 until like October of 14.
Dude, that's crazy. We were there at the same time, man.
No way.
I got there in summer of 13.
No way.
Yeah, so we were there in 13, 14 at the
Yeah.
same time. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I was an MP there, so that's all I did was work the road. That's funny. Yeah, so actually, when we came up to the national rally, we went and I kind of stomped around the old, Fort Lee and that area and stuff, which was, it was bittersweet. Like, I was not a great person back then. Again, still without God. So that time period happened. I ended up getting separated from my wife. Then, long story short, I made it back to Michigan, taking a job with the VA as a VA police officer. So working with the VA, it was like 2019, I guess, is where my story for Christianity began. I started working with life insurance a little bit, and all the very successful men in that, the common thing was that they were Christians. I was like, all right, maybe there's something here. Maybe I need to look into this Christianity thing. All right, like, I want to be a little more successful.
Yeah.
So, started going to church. Some of those guys would recommend like Joel Osteen books. So I started with Joel Osteen, to be honest. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Which, I don't care where you start as long as you keep learning and progressing, because if I'd have stayed
Right.
there, that'd be a different person.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah. Whatever got you in, got you in.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to church, and then, COVID happened. So world shut down. I had applied for the position that I have now, which I work here back in Arkansas as at the VA's headquarters for where we train the police, so the law enforcement training center. So I train all the VA police, and we do some stuff for the Department of Air Force, civilian defenders, and security forces. So COVID happened, you know, craziness. That flared up a lot of stuff like PTSD. You know, when I'm driving to work downtown Detroit, and usually there's people everywhere and there's nobody, I'm like, well, you know, this is where the IED happens. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get the position here. So get through COVID up in Detroit, get the position here, and was surrounded by some amazing men. One of our first, we were getting ready to be briefed by somebody, and there was 4 of us that started that at the same time. And just in our conversation, we all kind of, our eyebrows kind of were like, "Are you a Christian? Are you a Christian?" And all of us were like, "Yeah." Oh, dude, like it was just like a cold glass of water just was poured over me. I was like, "Man, that's awesome." I was like, where can you go where you're going to be surrounded by Christians outside of like a church the way we are? So that was awesome. So I specifically do a lot of the DT, the jiu-jitsu based training. So my group of guys that I started out with, we were tight. You know, we did a Conquer the Gauntlet, which is like a Tough Mudder. We were always together. We were always going on runs at lunch. We were always, you know, working out, all these things. And that's where Proverbs 27:17 like really, you know, got set in my heart.
Yeah.
And that's one of those verses that I've just lived off of since then. So that was like 2020. And that when I got here, same thing though, like with that, and then going to church and actually learning and growing is really where I started to flourish in all aspects. And it's just been a progression since to this point now. I, you know, try to be in the Word every day, you know, at least doing one proverb of the day. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm working my way through the New Testament and everything, and just, you know, just like anything, you'll slip up and forget or whatever. And I try not to make it a religious thing. Right. But I know, you know, there's statistics. I forget the exact statistic, but if you're in the Bible at least 4 times a week,
yeah,
the anxiety, everything is just insane. The difference of what it can do in your life.
Yeah, I know the statistic you're talking about, or the study you're talking about, is like the difference between being in the Word 3 days a week and 4 days a week was just like exponential return, right? Yeah. It was like 1, 2, 3 times a week, very little benefit. 4 times a week, enormous benefit. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, of course it's a God thing, but like, you know, yeah. So that's why I feel like at the very least, if I start my day off with a proverb, you know, because there's, for anybody that's listening, might see this, you know, there's 31 proverbs. Many months have 31 days. So if you start off, you know, say January 1st with Proverb 1, you can do one each day. And you could start tomorrow, which would be, I think, Proverb 20. So it doesn't matter. You just jump in, and it's amazing. I was talking about this the other day, like the living word, right? I'm like, I've read this proverb, you know, like at least 30 times at this point. I'm like, I don't remember that verse at all. And it just, you know, what God wants you to hear in that moment, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is a cool thing. Yeah.
So yeah, that more or less is what, like, how I got to where I'm at. I do want to say, it's been hard for me, to find a church. And like, I listened to your podcast, and I've been like speed listening to them this last week, but like trying to get as many, and you've had some pretty awesome guests on here. And like, I'm trying to find a church, and I need to get over it. It's a me thing where I'm like, well, I'll do a study on 1st and 2nd Timothy, and then I'll walk into church, and I'm like, oh, like, nope, that's not how this should be going, you know?
Oh man, I'm with you. there's so many churches in America. There's just churches all over the place, but there's very few and far between, you know, solidly Bible teaching, Bible following churches. It seems like so many churches that we're surrounded with are just trying to tell people what people want to hear.
Yep.
And they're just, you know, feel good, kind of self-help churches where people that they don't even believe in God. They're not even Christians. They just go because, well, it's good networking for their business, and, you know, there's good advice on, you know, money management and communication and marriage, and just these topics that are just kind of benign, are so popular that if you're somebody like you and you're like, man, I'm in the Bible and I want to go to a church that's going to feed me spiritually, that's, I mean, I hate to say it, but welcome to the challenge.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah, like I make, there's a joke, you know, down here, on every corner there's a Dollar General, a Mexican restaurant, and a church. So
Yeah.
plenty of options. And we've been, we were going to one that was one of those feel good churches for a while, and then, you know, that was when I met my now wife, that we decided that once we get, you know, married and everything, we're going to find our church. And then plus some things happened there, whatever. But
You guys met at church? Is that where you met her?
no, we met on a dating app because, you know, that's how most people meet these days, especially post COVID.
Yeah.
So to just quick on that, we both were getting ready to delete the app. It was the weekend after Thanksgiving, and just got to talking and everything. Like, well, let me back up. I had prayed for God to make me the man that I needed to be to deserve a good Christian woman. That was my prayer.
Man, that's a powerful prayer.
Yeah. So I had been praying that, you know, at the church I was going to, you could write your prayer on the thing, go put it up at the altar, and all these things. So I was doing that. So when we got to talking, I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to meet her, and we got to actually, you know, explore this, because, you know, from politics to what we believe, you know, as far as Jesus and God and everything, to we both have pit bulls, to jujitsu. Like, it was like, who is this? So
It's meant to be.
yeah. So yeah, we met. It was funny. I invited her out to a sushi restaurant called Rock and Roll Sushi, which is pretty cool down here. There's two of them in the city of Little Rock. She worked at Children's Hospital, so I was like, all right, meet me at the one that's like right behind, you know, like 2 miles from there. Well, she went to the one by her house, so she had to drive through rush hour like 45 minutes late to get to me. So the whole time they're like, oh, I think the restaurant staff's like, this dude got stood up. But yeah, we met, and she's been awesome. Huge
That's a great
support.
first date story, man.
Yeah. So yeah, she's been just awesome. Yeah, really, really blessed that God blessed me with her, because she's helped me grow so much.
What year did you get married?
So it would have been sooner if it had been up to me. So we met in November of, like I said, have been 22,
Okay.
and then we got married in my living room in August of 23.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of those this is who God sent me. If it had been up to me, I would have got married sooner. But every time I was like about to propose, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, you got to come up and meet my family," and then da da da. I was like, "Dang." So
Yeah. Man, I would just love to, if you can take us back. Your story is, it's powerful, and it's also one that a lot of men can relate to. And a lot of men go into the military because they're running away from something. Like, life ain't good where they're at, and they're going away from it into the military. I think that's, so many men can relate to that. And then for years, guys will just drift in the military in some sort of a state of some version of agnosticism. Maybe there's something out there. Maybe I'll throw up a Hail Mary prayer once in a while when I need one, but I don't know how could there be a God with all this going on. This is such a an American man theme, I believe. And then there's this getting serious, finding God, God, God moving in the heart of the man. And I want to come back to where you are now because this is incredible. But take us back to that night in Michigan where you called your dad. What was going on? Tell us about this key night in your life.
Okay. Yeah. So my group of friends, there was about four of us that were really tight. We all had our girlfriends. They were all really tight. I actually got kicked out of my mom's house. And then unfortunately, I feel like some of my friends followed me a lot. So they're like, oh, Paul's out on his own. Like, let's move out too. Barely, like 17, 18-year-old, just graduated high school kids already making bad decisions. So three of my friends and their girlfriends got a hotel, or not hotel, I say hotel because it was that kind of quality. Got an apartment in this complex, and the two of them were right next to each other, and then the next, it was like there was somebody in between, and then there's the next person had theirs. And it was just a absolute wild party where I blacked out, and I woke up and didn't remember like anything. And I threw up something, and it was like yellow, and I have no idea. So I don't know what I took or what that happened that night. So it's just one of those like, all right, I've got to make a change. And I wish I could say that, maybe it was, God telling me, I don't know, but like a lot of the things through my life, like that one specifically was like, all right, I have to make a change. Like, so I made the change. And that's a hard thing for people to do, like to look in the mirror and be like, all right, I need to change. And then to make that change. So yeah, it was tough because, I had at that time I thought it was the love of my life, and, my whole life that I knew, I had to uproot it and leave to survive, really.
Yeah. Hey, men. Thrivent is proud to support Men's Alliance's goals, and financial advisor Dr. Andrew Newman, call sign Sage, is excited to help tribe members and those they care about make financial choices guided by their Christian values. Faith is what fuels Andrew. Does it fuel you too? Call Andrew today at 612-246-0725 so you can take care of yourself and those you care about, including your local tribe and Men's Alliance. Man, I can certainly relate to that aspect of your story. Man, I had very similar moments in my life where I drank till I blacked out and woke up in places where I don't know how I got there. And that's terrifying, right? That's not funny like it looks in the movies. It's not funny at all. And you don't know what you've done or what's been done to you or what you've drank or put in you. And you realize pretty quick as an adult in those situations that you got to make a big change. Like, this is not sustainable. This current pattern of living can't go on. And that's a moment that is a wake up call for a lot of us. I know it was for me as well.
Yeah, and it's why I traded that lifestyle, and then within a year joined the military, right? And it's like so I think it says somewhere in our orders that you'll become an alcoholic type of thing, right? Because that's all you train all week. Friday, y'all were getting together and drinking and
Yeah.
just living that heathen lifestyle. I was Fort Campbell is 45 minutes away from Nashville, so that's you know
There's this mentality, like you said, it's somewhere in our orders, right? Like there's I think the military is really great at a lot of things. One thing it's not good at is moderation.
yeah, right.
We just don't do moderation. We go 0 miles per hour or we go 1,000 miles per hour, and that's it. Those are our two settings, right? And unfortunately, when you train that way, when you fight that way, you often drink that way as well, right? Like there's zero drinking when you're on duty,
Yeah.
and guys are good at following that rule. And they're like, "Yep, I would never ever drink on a mission." And then the mission's over, and now I'm going to drink everything, right? And I will say, just for me, the process of learning moderation in life, like that's been a big process, right? Like in every little thing, like when it comes to things like sleep or exercise, like you don't have to do a absolute soul crushing workout every time you work out. You can actually just do some moderate workouts, right? But like a guy in the military, he hears that and he's like, no way, that's weak.
Right.
It's all or nothing, right? But you think like as soon as you start applying that to more important issues like alcohol, it's like it becomes very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, while I'm thinking about it, speaking of drinking, this is
Yeah.
my first cup of Tribe coffee. I have not been a big cup coffee guy, but I bought the beans.
Let's go.
So this is going to be my first sip to be recorded.
All right. Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I got the beans because I've been, you see
Oh yeah,
these
you got the
things.
whole beans.
Yeah, because you see these things and like we've changed our diet a lot of things and just some of the weird stuff that can be in the already ground up stuff. So I'm like, let me
Okay.
get the beans. So I like it.
We're not messing around with our coffee, man.
Yeah. That's another thing that military is big on is like the coffee.
Right.
But so thinking about there was another again, God had bigger plans for me because I weekend in Nashville drank the entire weekend. My buddy, we were working like midnights, and then got off work. My buddy was getting married, which was also not a good idea. As early military marriages are.
Yeah.
But we went over to his house. We showered and went over there, and we're like, "Hey, you sure you want to do this?" And he didn't have anybody going to be witnesses. So we're like, well, we'll change. We'll come be witnesses, which led into that's where we started drinking. After not sleeping, having just worked a shift, which then turned us going into Nashville and just drinking all weekend to the point where Monday morning we had motor pool Mondays, and it was July in the South. It's already pretty hot, and I passed out in formation, and they tried everything they could to hook me up. First they took me to be checked medically, and I think because everybody was just handing me water to drink because I passed out in heat, they were thinking heat stroke, but I just pounded water. So they took me to the aid station. Or not the aid station, the MP station. So where I worked, a few days prior, where they were trying to get me to do a breathalyzer, and luckily I blew zeros. But again, it's just one of those moments where I came out smelling like roses somehow.
Yeah.
Which I've got all kinds of stories like that. But like thinking about like the military, when you get out, this is something I think that could be really valuable to the listeners. I have a lot of hats, right? I have I was a soldier, veteran hat, law enforcement hat, father, husband, et cetera, et cetera. Those hats, what we do though And especially when we get out of the military, right? You lose that identity once you take that uniform off. So, like I did, and I'm 100% guilty of it. So I put on this veteran hat. This veteran hat was like, oh, all the grunt style and AR-15 clothing and still drinking. You don't know what I've been through, so I'm going to be a jerk. Just all these different things. So that was the identity that I held on to there. So I say that to things you've done does not have to be your identity. Yes, I have the veteran head, I have all those things, but that's not who I am. At the core, I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, and I'm a father. I can put those hats on. I don't wear them very much anymore because I don't tell people like, oh, I'm a veteran, oh, I did this, unless it comes up in conversation, because that's not who I am. And I think that's a big problem. And I see it all the time. I've been to different military events, veteran events. I went to Mighty Oaks. I know you had Chad on here a few months ago. You go to these things and you just see these dudes who I used to be. They're just so angry still. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know, blah, blah. Like, okay, cool, bro. Like, I get it. But like, you don't have to stay there.
Yeah. Man, that is so true. Yeah, you're right. Is that going to change your story? Me knowing what you've been through, is that what you need? You need me to know it? You're right. There's this huge identity problem, with guys transitioning out of the military, that for the first time in years, they're hanging up what was their entire identity. And they're searching for a new one. And you're right. I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but that veteran identity can become its own identity.
Absolutely.
Right? Is the bitter chip on his shoulder guy he's kind of subconsciously discovered, oh, this new identity will work. This is a new hat for me to wear.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like, working at the VA, I saw it all the time. As a VA police officer, you get some old disgruntled vets who are like, you don't know what I've been through. Like, but like, I was a little more rough back then. But like, well, yeah, I do actually, because I've done X, Y, Z too. But it doesn't matter. Like I've gotten to that point and like talking about my growth and where I am now. Like it doesn't matter what we're all doing though. And what I've come to realize is everybody's just trying to fill a hole where Jesus needs to be.
That's exactly right, man. That's exactly right. That's the only identity that's ever going to mean anything.
Yeah. I still work with some folks that they're good people, but some of them are Christians, but they, through their job, like I've got a fancy title that I don't even tell anybody because I think it's one of those identities that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So I don't tell people those things, but some people wear it. Well, it is literally a badge, but they wear it like, as bright and shiny as they can. Like, cause this is who I am. No, man. Like as soon as you take out of that parking lot, this place should stay in the rearview mirror because you got to go home and be a husband or father now. We hold on to that. We have this ego, this arrogance, this things that comes with some of these titles and these uniforms and these hats. But all it is they're running away from God if they don't know him, and they're not, or they're not accepting Jesus the way they need to fill that hole.
Man, you're so right. One of the things I always talk about at Carry the Fire that I know you've heard me say, and just it's quite literally on this topic of hats, right? Like the same qualities that make us successful men in the workplace are the same qualities that will be detrimental to us as husbands and fathers. That mission-focused, type A, shove your feelings aside and get the job done hat that makes us good at our jobs will make us terrible husbands and fathers. Yep. And men have to learn how to change hats, right? Men who are successful both in the workplace and at home are men who know how to come home and hang up the type A mission focused hat, put that hat on the hat rack, and put on the kind, gentle, compassionate, loving husband, father hat. And guys who can't change those hats, they're gonna crash and burn
Yeah.
either at home or at work one.
Yep. And then if you add in that they're still holding on to that identification of that, I'm a veteran, so I got to still act this way. It's just a recipe for disaster. I tell guys, honestly, I think because I've coming off paternity leave, I've been going back to work like 3 days a week right now, and
Yeah.
I had this conversation a couple times this week. I'm like, because there's just some people that are so miserable. Like, I love my job. I get to show up. I get to try and sharpen men in their role as law enforcement, but I'm also tossing pebbles at them the whole time. Like when I'm in charge of the music, I'm playing my Christian metal. Like when I introduce myself again, I don't say, "Oh, I'm Paul Tucker. I've done all these things that you've probably done too. So you look at me, I'm cool." No, I say, "I'm Paul Tucker. I'm one of your instructors, but I'm a God-fearing man." Or I'll say something like that. I'm like, "All right, next slide. You guys don't care about you guys don't care about my resume. You're here to learn from me, and hopefully just." But I'll throw little nuggets, and then I'll get guys to come up to me like, "Oh, was that Christian man? Like I know that song," and so it gets those conversations going.
Man, that's huge. It's actually those little things that are the big things.
Yeah,
Yeah. Those are what sometimes that can be everything, right? Just one of the little things I've seen, like you're talking about, like throwing little pebbles, is just bowing your head and praying quietly to yourself before you eat a meal. Like a coworker six seats down sees that and files that away. And a year later, when they're going through a crisis in their life, they come and they talk to you because they saw that and they filed that away. And then that can create a life-changing conversation, all because you took a small stand in public, whether it's like you're saying the music you play or how you introduce yourself, things like that. We need more Christian men doing that in their workplace every day.
yeah, and that's ironically that's kind of how I found Men's Alliance. So,
Really?
but just like I get guys that'll hit me up on Facebook, or like they'll add me on Facebook. They're like, "Man," because I've made some videos and stuff. They're like, "Man, your videos are awesome. Like they're really helping me." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "That's awesome." Like I'm glad to hear that. But if I hadn't already planted that seed when they were here, one of my students in the academy, that might not happen. But to kind of wrap it all into Men's Alliance, TAC from down in Dallas area, he was one of my students. And,
Oh yeah.
so he was one of my students. Again, at each other on social media. He came back down. I think I was one of his instructors for what I teach. We train instructors to go back out to their stations. But he posted a video. It was him doing something on a tire. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So I looked it up. But of course, with my ADD mind, I opened it, left it open, went and did something else, forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I had already signed up for Men's Ignite.
Okay.
So, because I've trained with Chad. He my buddies own a dojo, and him and his partner paid for or had him come up to do a seminar and also to speak in front of the churches or the church. So, like, I've been following him for a little while. So he was the speaker, and so was Tim Tebow, which to the awesome men for Christ. So I was like,
Yeah.
we're going. So we went, and then so I reached out to Tech. I'm like, hey, I see this Men's Alliance thing's there. Are you going to be there? He's like, yeah, man, we're going to be running the booth. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I signed up, or I did the workout, and I was like, I'm starting this in Arkansas. This is happening. So
Wow.
I signed up right there to launch Tribe, and I think like 2 weeks later I launched Judah Tribe.
Man, that's neat how it was through one of those small pebbles. Hey, there's another kind of a snapshot in your story of your life that I want to go back to and kind of zoom in on. When you were talking about how there was a time where you were doing a little bit of work in the world of insurance, and you were noticing that a lot of the guys you were surrounded by in that field were Christians. Tell us about like what was the moment? What was the moment of surrender for you? What was it like going from a guy who thinks, yeah, maybe there's something out there spiritually, to a guy who's now going to say, I'm going all in, giving my entire life to this person of Jesus who rose from the dead?
Yeah. So again, I was just seeing these things and these guys, and I'm like, man, they're successful. Some of these dudes are making 7 figures a year, and they're happy. They're well put together. You know, they're all these things, and not only them, but one of my buddies here that I still work with. That same thing. I'm like, why is this dude always happy? Like, because when I first met him, he was like, you know, introduced. He was wearing that Marine hat, you know, which I'm sure you know some of those guys. And I was like, okay, this guy, he's gonna be that guy. But he was one of my instructors, and he's been one of the reasons why I am where I am. To be honest, I'm not go into all that, but so I'm seeing all these guys just flourish, and I'm like, okay, there's a common denominator here, and it was Christianity. So, like I said, they started out some but one of them. I was like, oh, this book by Joel Osteen. I'm barely a reader now. I definitely wasn't a reader then, so that wasn't happening. But obviously, he has all the internet content, so I started listening to all his sermons and everything. And I wish I had an aha moment. You know, you'll hear people's testimonies where, you know, it's kind of like Paul. You know,
Right.
just wow. Like I don't have that. I think it was just God working on me. Just, you know, I was this marble slab, whatever, right? And God just been chipping all these hard edges off me, and it's just until it finally hit me, right, where I'm like, okay, no, this is real. Like Jesus is real, God is real, and this is what I need to do. I need to follow this path, because this is I can see the evidence all around me from these other men that I'm looking up to. So I need to look up to the ultimate man of Jesus and just go all in.
When you did that, were there like any were there any big changes you felt like you needed to make right away? Was there any sort of like course corrections going on, or was it just, again, was it like the series of the small chips? I'm just curious.
Yeah, again, it was a weird time, right? Because I started going down that path well. You know, just like, again, one of those a veteran, so I got to cuss a lot. So I was not cussing as much. You know, like I know I was seeing that because I could see my family, like they were seeing that. So like stuff like that. I think I started just having an overall more positive appearance and outlook and just everything. But again, shortly after that, COVID hit, which you know that flipped everybody on their butts.
Let's talk a little bit about this amazing setup you have behind yourself and this amazing set that you have. Tell us about how you got started, how you felt called and pulled into this. You've really created a ministry. Tell us about that and what you're doing and how you got started with that.
So yeah, like I mentioned, Proverbs 27:17 is just like such a core value verse in my life, that I wanted to do more. So I pray, I still pray this, but I was, you know, really praying it back then was like, God, you know, just like my verse on my chest. I wasn't saying it this way because I don't think I got to that verse yet in the Bible, but I, you know, pray, God, use me how you see fit to expand your kingdom. And So podcast came up, and I started. It's called Wisdom for Warriors. I started with the idea just because that was I guess 22. Weird times, right? Still kind of in the COVID era. You know, men aren't leading in the churches. You know, you've got all these weird things going on in the world. So the idea was building strong men up in a weak world.
Yeah.
You know, again, I've got surrounded by a bunch of military guys, veterans and law enforcement stuff. And a lot of us are Christians. So I was like, this is a way I could do it. I actually wasn't even on social media at the time when I decided to do this. So I got back on social media just so I could help try and promote it. So, just like you, man, I started with a cheapo mic. I did my very first episode was on video. I say with my buddy Bobby, one of the guys that I started this job with, in that conference room that I was talking about. So him and I, again, when we both got here, just to kind of tell you, we both were like just tiptoeing our water in Christianity, and now he's a deacon at his church now, and like it's just amazing. We're gonna do an episode here soon just to talk about how drastically our lives have changed from this setting. But yeah, so I same thing, started out with a little mic. I've had probably most technical difficulties aside from a fire, like as far as like on different episodes. I've had uploads not going all the way through before they log off, so I lose half the episode. I've had cameras fall over.
In there. Check.
You know, so just all these things. But yeah, it's I feel like it was just a way that I could reach out to people that I can't touch.
You know, just the name Wisdom for Warriors, you know, you were talking an awful lot about Proverbs and how you read a proverb every day, and Proverbs 27:17 being your verse. And then, you know, yourself as a, you know, Army, 101st, law enforcement. I think you nailed the name. Yeah. Wisdom for Warriors. You nailed it, man. That's exactly you. So definitely you gotta keep me in the loop on your podcast, man. You gotta let me know when you're doing some of these episodes. Send them to us. I'd love to listen to them, and we'd love to post them for you.
Awesome.
Tell us a little bit about, because I think the first time we met in person was November, wasn't it, last month?
No, we met at the National Rally.
The National Rally, that's it. We met back in, when was that? Was that
March,
May?
April? Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so we met at the rally, and then again at the FTX. So tell people, first of all, that rally, that was the most amazing thing that we did in Men's Alliance in 2025. Holy smokes. But tell people about, just give guys a little bit of your carry the fire experience and what that was like for you.
Ooh, okay. So, you know, in the leadership guide, it says it's encouraged that tribe leaders get patched. I think it says within the first year or so of being a tribe leader. So, patch class in Dallas, the first one, was, I guess that would have been a couple weeks before my 1 year. So when it showed up on the website that it was down in Dallas, like that's only like a 6-hour drive from here. So too easy, right? However, my wife was pregnant.
Yeah.
And the due date was September. So I was like, oh, it's like a few weeks after the baby's gonna be here. So, you know, talked with my wife about it, and you know, she, being a first time mom, she had her nerves, of course, and naturally, right? And I told her, you know, talking with Tatanka and some other guys, I was like, if I can't go, they'll just roll the money into or the tuition into a later class. Not that big of a deal. The idea was because she has family down north of Dallas, like 45 minutes north of Dallas. Excuse me. The idea was she'd be able to stay with family while I was at the FTX. So, you know, all that in mind, kind of eased her mind. We, kind of forgot about it, whatever. It was getting close. Every time it come up, it kind of caused some anxiety with her again, naturally. Because
you're not still planning to go to that thing 6 hours away, are you?
right. Well, no, not only that, but like being completely disconnected. She wasn't loving that. So even with her being in Dallas, because y'all are super secret squirrel about where it's gonna be. Texas is big, so anyways,
Dallas is kind of like in quotes, right?
Yeah, right. So the baby came. We hadn't started the classes yet, so the baby came, and still the plan was to kind of feel it out, see how she felt, and we would address it as we got closer. Classes start up, and one of the things I did a little video talking about being a father, and I think I mentioned it, but one of the things that's not talked about a lot, and I don't want to take away from motherhood or anything, but they don't talk about the father's side of things when it comes to pregnancy and the birth.
Right.
Like there was a moment there where I thought I was losing both of them, and so that happened, right? And then you take away, you get the sleep deprivation, which actually helped me prepare for the FTX. But you add those things, and then I think there's actually research behind it where if you have mental health past up to including PTSD, there is a thing there's a thing where men can actually have postpartum depression as well. And if you have PTSD background, all those things, that actually makes it more susceptible. So I was struggling really hard with a lot of things during that season when we were just getting into CTF, and it was sometime in the middle where I was like so overwhelmed and so focused on everything but my relationship with God that I just was slipping to the point where, bringing it up, talking with her every time I jumped on the class, it was just causing so much anxiety that I'm like, all right, I'm not going. And I think it was like a Saturday. I reached out to Tatanka and I was like, hey man, I'm not going to go. I need to see about maybe getting my money back or rolling it into another class. And, almost immediately after I said that to him, like I already started having regrets. And I had someone who was going to go with us, and he bowed out. And I forget what verse he presented to me, and just in the headspace that I was in, I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. So with that information, I had already decided not to go. But then I was like, man, I don't know. So I reached out to two of my pastor buddies. One, he's actually up in off the Jersey Shore. That's my last podcast episode. I reached out to him and my other buddy who have zero association with Men's Alliance. So the unbiased. And so I presented them with what I was feeling and thinking and got their opinion on it. And ultimately, between those conversations and the regret I was feeling, like like if you sign up for something and don't go, like you're always going to be like, what did I miss? What didn't I do? So I, prayed about it too. And ultimately I was like, no, I have to go. God willing that my wife lets me go. Like I have to go. I can't not go because I was being weak. So before the next patch class, or weekly class, I reached back out to Tatanka and like, I'm going. So God willing, right? So kept going, right, and kept going with the classes. It was tough, man, because like our classes were in the evenings at like right around the time we're trying to put the baby down. So like I was like running in and out, like from the in and out and away from the computer to try and help her with the baby and trying to be engaged and all these things and just just I was nervous because I wasn't studying as much as I could have. I was constantly listening to the podcast episodes and the lessons and everything and trying to reread the book as much as I can. But when she's feeding the baby, I'm trying to be Cinderella and do everything else around the house. Like it was a tough season.
Yeah.
So then add on, my father-in-law has been in and out of the hospital for coming up on 2 years now. And a few weeks before FTX, he went back into the hospital. He's got heart failure and some other stuff going on, and ultimately, they more or less said like he's going to die. Which of course, we knew that, right? But they made it sound more imminent. So like, could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 years, don't know. So we were both on paternity leave. So I told her, I was like, well, let's pack up and drive up there to Pennsylvania while we were off work, so that at least, God forbid he, goes soon, he can at least meet his grandson. Let me pause right there. So before that happened, the family she was going to stay with in Texas, she reached out to like set that up. They had just went through, I think her aunt and her husband, aunt's husband had both just lost a parent. So like they were not open to receiving guests because they just had so many things going on. So I was like, okay, crap. Now what am I going to do? Like I don't have somewhere for her to go to be closer. That if God forbid something did happen, I could just dip out and go be what I need to do. So that happened, but then in a crazy God design again. So my father-in-law's back home, but we drive up to Pennsylvania so he can meet his grandson. And the idea was I would fly out of Philly to Dallas, and she'd be with like her mom and her sisters and everything, so that she would have a lot more support. So it worked out better in that sense. I actually joked about it. I was like, I'm going to hit up the Goose and Gladiator and them and see if I can just jump on the bus with them on the way down. So yeah, we were up there, and so I flew from Philly to Dallas. Just so many things trying to keep me from this thing.
Yeah.
I get to Dallas, and I scheduled an Uber like a week in advance because I was staying 30-ish minutes away from where it was supposed to be, or I closer to where I needed to be. And I guess it wouldn't have been a week in advance, but I scheduled it in advance either way. And I got there. It's like, hey, let us know when you're at baggage claim, and we'll start coming that way. Click, cool. Never came. I could see on the map that he was like 6 miles away, just staying there. I was like, what the heck? So I called him, didn't answer. He prefers messaging, so I messaged him, never answered. I'm like, for like 30 minutes. So I'm like, all right, I don't know what to do. So I canceled it. Actually, it reminds me, I have to get a refund on that because they charged me a third of the fare, which was like $30.
Oh man.
So
I'm glad you just remembered that.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a lift, which still took another 15 minutes to get to me. Yeah. So we so once we get to carry the fire, man, just one of the funny moments that just made me think of. So I had given all my gear to Blockbuster, who was coming down, and I had purchased a sleeping bag, sent it to his house, and I was like, "Hey, bring this." Well, he didn't. So,
Oh, no.
so
I didn't know that.
yeah. So Friday morning when he picked me up, I was like, "Hey, man, you got my sleeping bag?" He's like, we're going to Walmart." Okay, cool. So we go to Walmart, not even paying attention to what he grabs. He grabs his sleeping bag. He's like, "Here, this one is bigger, or it looks, it's heavier weight than the one you got, anyways." I was like, "Okay, fine." Well, with the sleeping bag story in mind, there was a moment where some things were happening, and I looked down, and in that moment, like I was like, playing the games, I'm used to it, the military stuff, but I looked down and I see the back end of the sleeping bag, and it says, for children up to 5'6". So like in that
Thanks,
moment,
Blockbuster.
yeah. So in that moment, I was like, all I could do is laugh. Like I'm probably the
That's
only
awesome.
dude in the, out of the
That's
50 plus
awesome.
dudes around that was laughing in that moment. But like, that's all I could do is laugh.
That's awesome. Oh man, so you had a lot of obstacles between you and that FTX.
Yeah.
With the travel, the the poor health condition, the baby, just all the logistics, all the family, all the stuff. I know you were about a second away from quitting all throughout the thing, but yet you didn't. You stuck with it. You went through it. You think you made the right decision?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a powerful weekend for all of us there. You're definitely better off for not taking the bus. By the way, that was your best decision. Your best decision in this whole story was you not getting on the bus from Virginia to Texas.
Yeah. How long did that
That's
take
a whole
y'all?
podcast. That was a 22-hour drive.
Yeah, that's I didn't have time for that. So just to add to the back end of that, I flew back from Dallas to Philly. My wife picked me up from the airport, and then we drove back to Arkansas.
Oh man.
So like
Yeah.
I didn't get like so basically, yeah, the great sleep weekend I had, I got to drive all the
You're
way
good.
home.
Yeah.
That was good.
Golden.
But we drove to Knoxville, which was like 8 hours, and we stayed the night there. And yeah, so I was just again, God got me through that because like I think the adrenaline and the rush of the weekend was still just because I crashed a couple days later, but like it got me home.
Oh yeah.
That was a long weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big that's a big event. It's big in every way. It's big emotionally and spiritually and physically and relationally. It's just a big event. And it takes a while to process it all after the fact too.
Still processing it. Yeah.
And so congratulations.
Thank you.
What's your baby's name?
Bodie Angelo. So we call him Bo.
Bo. I
Yeah.
love it.
He's a hoss, man. He's 3 months. He just hit 3 months on Wednesday, but he's already outgrowing 3 to 6 month clothing.
Nice.
He's a big boy.
Man, that's an incredible story. I love hearing about, where you started and the path and the journey that God has taken you on. And your story is still in the early stages.
Yeah.
Think about that. How old are you?
36. After 25, you stop
I
stop
was gonna
caring.
say it wasn't supposed to be that tough of
No,
a
no,
question.
yeah, no. I usually have to ask my
36.
wife.
Man, think about like I mean like that's young.
Yeah.
That's like the starting line. And here you are trained and equipped uniquely to reach men, especially, law enforcement, first responders, veterans, and here you are leading a tribe and starting a family and all this. So starting a ministry as well as with your podcast, Wisdom for Warriors. So it's just great for me to get just this little sneak peek into how God the story of how God is using Ducky and where this story's going. And it'll be fun to do this podcast again in a couple years and see what this ministry you've got is doing now, and how Judah tribe is doing then, and all this. Just realizing for every single one of us, for me, for you, for guys listening to this, like when you put your life into God's hands, when you turn things over to God, it's like that's when the excitement starts. That's when the fun begins. That's when there's joy. That's when there's peace. That's the adventure. And I know that you will agree with me here. All the things you've done and all the things I've done, whether Air Force, Army, law enforcement, all this stuff that to the world, that stuff sounds kind of cool and exciting. It pales in comparison to talking to men about Jesus and doing stuff like ministry, and doing Men's Alliance, and doing these podcasts, and doing Carry the Fire, and doing FTXs 1,000 times better than the coolest thing I ever did in the military.
Yeah.
I want to just like scream it to guys. It's like, listen, guys are pursuing things that they think are going to bring them fun and excitement and happiness and adventure and all this stuff. But all that stuff is actually found in Jesus Christ. And when you go there, that's where real life begins.
Yep. Yeah, it's the race isn't done. Just got to keep running it.
That's right.
Man, I want to say, so like, I honestly kind of ashamed to admit this, but like I wasn't good about the first year really listening to the podcast and everything. So I've been playing catch up the last like 2 weeks. So I because you're a very fast speaker, so I do a 2 times speed up.
Yeah, people usually have to really slow me down. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was able to cram in about 100 episodes over the last week. But it was really cool to listen back to those early episodes, like the COVID, and just like, man, I forgot about some of these things and the craziness, and just like all the people you had on there, like listening to the Admiral thing, like
oh yeah,
like thinking about with the Admiral, like those guys get kicked out of their academy. Like there was like 11 of us at my job that got a religious exemption against the vaccine, and like had I not been around those men that were sharpening me, and I had still been back in Detroit, it'd have been a whole different outcome. So like but listening to all those episodes and just like the excitement you had, you're like, next week or this month we're going to launch 2 more tribes. This thing's like a wildfire. Like thinking about it now, like this is a wildfire. This is a wildfire. Because like we were tribe 153, and now we're supposed to end with like 377 or something like that.
Yeah, you were 153 13 months ago. And man, I'll tell you what, God just laughs and smiles and enjoys watching us try to keep up with him. All right, last question, and one of the most important is how did you get the call sign Ducky?
Yeah, so I've got, actually, let me grab this real quick.
Oh yeah.
I've got this little duck, right? It's a tactical duck. And I have shorts that I was wearing that had tactical ducks all over it. So,
like when you were on the tire?
Yeah. And because
that'll do it. Oh, that'll do it for sure.
Yeah, so the idea, right, with the ducks is like for the longest time, like I felt like a duck. Like if something that would bother most people, I just kind of let roll off my back like a duck does with water. And so I was wearing the shorts, and Ducky was it, and I was like, yeah, I like that. So
that's awesome. That reminds me of Big Panda and how he got his call sign. It has to do with what he's wearing when he's on the tire. Mm-hmm. But I had to ask because duck and goose, right? Yeah. So one of the things I love about both geese and ducks is how completely versatile they are. You can put them anywhere, in the air, on the ground, on the water. They're good wherever you put them. They'll make it work. And even when they're swimming their butts off, kicking furiously below the surface, they're chill and they're calm on top. They exude calm even when they're swimming in choppy water. And anyway, just wanted to find out your story.
Yeah.
And brother, I thank you so much for your time, man, and for sharing with us and our listeners just a little bit about God's journey that He's taken you on.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm excited to see what God has in store for all of us next, and just for everybody out there, man, just keep sharpening yourselves. If you've been to one tribe, you know what we're doing is great. So even if you don't feel like going every week, which there's days I don't, like there's days that guys that are hosting it at their house, they don't feel like walking out the door. Like
for sure, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, you feel better after you do it. Every time.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're anywhere around the Little Rock area, go check out Ducky and Judah Tribe. And we're going to put here in the show notes, check out Wisdom for Warriors if you want to listen to more about what God is doing in Ducky's life, and follow his podcast as well.
Awesome.
All right. All right, men, I want to tell you about the biggest thing Men's Alliance is doing in 2026. The biggest thing we're doing this year is our Leadership Summit. It's the first time we've done something like this, and the need for it could not be greater. We are training leaders in Men's Alliance. If you haven't noticed, we've got over 360 tribe leaders, over 45 region leaders, and now 7 division leaders. We are a leader building machine in Men's Alliance, and we are investing in you. We want to train you to be a better leader, no matter where you are, no matter what level you're at. This Leadership Summit is going to take you a level higher. April 17th and 18th. April 17th and 18th. It's at Salem Baptist Church, Richmond, Virginia. Salem Baptist Church, Richmond, Virginia, April 17th and 18th. 2026 Leadership Summit. Listen to some of our guest speakers. Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, Jason Eagle Dickinson, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Goen, Pastor Stan Grant, and retired Vice Admiral Dean Lee, along with me, Thor, Sheepdog, Gladiator, your MA staff. This is leadership training for MA tribesmen. Every tribesman is invited to this thing because every tribesman is a leader. There will be breakout sessions for chiefs, workout chiefs, devotion chiefs. There's going to be sessions for regional leaders, tribe leaders, division leaders. We are pouring into and investing in you, our leader, at every single level. Whether you are already in one of those roles or you desire to be in the future. Like I said, this is for any Men's Alliance tribesman. Don't miss our Leadership Summit 2026. This is the biggest thing we're doing. Go to our website and click on training. men'salliancetribe.com. Click on training and register for our summit today. We're only charging $25 for this thing, just enough to cover getting speakers here and making the coffee. So come on, we need you there. This is going to sharpen us all as leaders.